I I can't believe I've lived long enough to be able to see a remake of Spice and Wolf. It would not be far-fetched to say that without this series, I would not be the person I am today. I don't think I would be as in love with anime as I am. I owe a lot to Dragon Ball, but Spice and Wolf is one of those series that really it opened the world of anime up to me, and it harbors such a special place in my heart. And it was, just to give some context here, it was the first series, like when I was able to go buy my own manga and anime and stuff, it was the first series I ever went out of my way to buy. And, like, I still have the original novel. Like, I'll grab it right quick. Like, I have the original novel right here. I remember going to going to Books a Million and picking up this volume. Like, you could see the pages are turning yellow. It's literally it's crazy to think that after 15 years, like 15 years to put in perspective, that is when season 2 of Spice and Wolf came to an end back in July or September 2009 is when season 2 ended. And I remember sitting down and being like, when is there going to be a season 3? And for the next decade plus, and I even made multiple videos on this on my channel, you could go back and look, type in Chibi Reviews Spice and Wolf, and you'll see I've constantly talked about Spice and Wolf over the last decade. I've talked about just like, I want a season 3 or some form of remake or continuation or something, and at long last, I have been given the privilege to be able to watch a Spice and Wolf anime remake, and it's not something I ever expected. When I got this news like a year and a half ago, like when I found out that Spice and Wolf was getting a remake, I was in just a complete state of shock because it's just like, there's no way this is happening. Because honestly, the opening sequence of this like episode really does just, honestly, the entire episode, it perfectly represents what Spice and Wolf represents to people, especially me. And I know anyone that is like been in the anime, manga community, light novel community has probably heard of Spice and Wolf. They have probably seen this character, Hollow, appear in, maybe images or memes or something. You probably have seen this character once or twice if you are an anime fan or manga fan, etc. And you might have heard in passing Spice and Wolf is a great series. It might not have ever read it, might not have ever watched it, because it's old. It is. It's over 15 years old, okay? And I understand why people wouldn't watch it. And factoring all of that in, this episode represents the passage of time. Very similar, honestly, it's slightly different, but very similar to Free Rend in a way, because it's like, Holo's telling a story at the beginning of this episode to a mysterious character, which I am not going to name for spoiler reasons, but it was definitely not a sequence. This little sequence here was not something I expected to see in this first episode at all. Like, when this episode opened up and I heard the music, and, I'll let you hear the music, okay? Just listen to this music for a second. Bro, just, I could cry to this, man. Like, just, dude, the music hits that emotional note that the OG soundtrack had. Like, I'm getting tears in my eyes, man. And it's just like, it opens up with that. And then I hear this kid-like voice talking, and I'm like, wait a minute. Is this what I think it is? Like, it all clicks in my head. It's all coming back to me. And then you hear this character talking, and then you obviously hear the distinct voice of Holo talking. And it's like, who's she talking to? And then when it continues the scene, you're like, wait a minute. Is she talking to who I think she's talking to? And I love the mystique and just the mystery behind this sequence. Because Holo in this sequence represents, the old fans, the old readers and watchers of Spice and Wolf, while the kid represents the newcomers, those that have heard in passing maybe certain little tales of Spice and Wolf or seen images, etc., but really don't know what to expect. And Holo's sitting down and talking with this mysterious kid about, like, her past adventures is honestly just... I love it, man. Like, words cannot describe just how much I love this sequence. It's so good. Oh, man, dude, I'm getting emotional, man. It really is crazy just to see this and hear the voices of these characters again, or hear the voice of a new character as well. It also confirms one thing that especially this sequence does, of this beginning sequence, this first 2 minutes. It definitely lets me know that the animators behind this, the people that are working on the Spice and Wolf remake, they want to probably adapt everything. They want to adapt the entire story, and I think it makes so much sense. Why? Because Spice and Wolf is popular. It might not be as popular as other series nowadays that people have heard of, but at its time period, it has definitely had a cult following. There is definitely dedicated fans to Spice and Wolf. And, you know, I think that Kadokawa knows this. They know how popular Spice and Wolf is. And at the time period over 15 years ago, back in 2007, 8, 9, 10, etc., and even the early teens, you know, anime was fundamentally different. Like, anime was made just to advertise the product. Like, for instance, you would have a season come out for a show. It's about 12 episodes, they'll leave it on a cliffhanger, and then you would never have a continuation, because literally the whole point of the anime was to just go read the manga, or go read the original source. And that's just how anime normally was done. Like, Spice and Wolf was done like that. It was just left on, go read the original source if you want more. And a lot of anime was sadly done like this, and we're in a new era now where anime, when it gets adapted, if it's popular, it's going to get actually adapted entirely. And them adding this sequence in at the beginning does imply that they want to adapt everything, and even the sequel, and I'm all for that. Please give me that. Please give me that. Please give me that. But to be fair, there is enough content with Spice and Wolf to make like 5 or 6 seasons. Like, if they really want to pace it out properly, they could easily make 5 to 6 seasons of the show before they even get to the sequel. That's the ridiculous part of it. So, like, I really hope that this anime truly does respect the original source. So far from the first episode, it does. It does respect that original source, and I couldn't help but be mesmerized by just the absolute magic that this show presents. After all of these years, somehow Spice and Wolf was able to get me emotionally, even though I know what was coming. I knew these scenes, like, vividly in my mind. I'm reimagining my first time watching the original, and watching, like, or reading the light novel and visualizing everything in my head, seeing the magic of these scenes again in a new format, like, for instance, new animation and art, is just, it's so beautiful, and it still captures that tone. There was definitely a lot of people I saw, like, complaining about Spice and Wolf prior to this episode release, saying that the art style is dramatically different in comparison to the old. Like, here, like, taking a look here at, like, the old art, it definitely looks radically different from what we got now. Obviously, this is an anime from 2009, so it's going to look very different. The art techniques and stuff are very different, but the way the designs are of the characters with the new anime, it looks more in line with the light novel, illustrations. That's what it looks like to me, and I feel like it's more in line with that, and I see no problem with what they've done with the character designs. I actually prefer them, honestly. I do like the original. The original is great, but I am all for this new design that sticks closer to the original source designs, so I'm all for that. Now, with that being said, let's get into some nitty-gritty content, like, for instance, what this episode really was trying to present to its audience, and what newcomers can really analyze from episode 1 of Spice and Wolf. So fundamentally, what this episode does is showcase the passage of time, and why I had that free run comment earlier on in this video is because this first episode might not be the exact same as free run, but it does have some elements to showcase that, there is a passage of time, and with old stories or old myths or legends, eventually eventually they just fade, and they're no longer talked about. In this case, the very premise of episode 1 of Spice and Wolf is about Lawrence, our main male character, coming into this village to basically sell wheat, do merchant-like things, and comes to find out that there is a festival, a pagan festival happening very soon, and this festival is about basically worshipping a wise wolf, a wolf that hides in the wheat and, gives them a bountiful harvest, basically a harvesting god. And this has been a tradition within this city for years, decades even, maybe hundreds of years, a very long time, so to speak. And, they're celebrating. But as you can see from the episode, at first it's a festival, but you can see that people don't really care as much for the festival as they once did. We have this whole sequence in the episode where you have the guy that was chosen to be in the shed to keep Holo locked up, didn't actually stay locked up as tradition, grabbed the food that was the offering to Holo, sat down and started eating it in secret. And basically this implies that the old traditions of respecting the harvesting god is gone. They no longer care for it because obviously for the last few years they've had bad harvest, and the reason for this, Holo explains herself, is because she wants the ground to heal and be right. She doesn't want to just keep harvesting it and allow the ground to basically decay. So that's why there was some bad years. But, clearly the people within the village, the city, didn't view it like that. And with new techniques and new things that have came thanks to technology, they no longer really need a harvesting god. And Holo realizes this. So as ages pass, you see basically the twilight years of Holo's life in this village, that, she is no longer needed. She isn't needed anymore to help this village, and you gotta imagine this is very depressing. For instance, Holo's role for probably decades to centuries, has been basically locked up in this village and, fulfilling a promise she made to someone that is long since dead. Someone that probably nobody remembers anymore, nobody even remembers their name. She's been fulfilling a promise for them, and nobody even respects her anymore. And as time has passed, the job is done, and she wants to move on, which begins the sequence of, the merchant meets the wise wolf, and they go on a journey together. And it is a classic adventure fantasy story, and I love that. I love the theme of what the episode is, showing that Holo is not appreciated, and so she's now setting out to find out something else that people that can appreciate her, or a new objective in life. And right now her objective is to go north, and it's implied that maybe she wants to go home, especially with the little name drop of her, town, Yoitsu, and also just her looking at the north and the snowy land she was talking about. It's implied she just wants to maybe visit home once again. So it's a really nice first episode to really kind of ground the characters in reality, that Lawrence is someone that is very superstitious. He's not easily trusting, but at the same time, he will believe it if he sees it before his eyes, aka Holo actually being basically like a mysterious creature that can turn into like some form of godlike figure. He definitely now believes that, but at first he didn't. Just because she has ears doesn't mean he fully believes she could be a devil or something, and he would have turned her into the church, which that's another element that the episode presents. It also presents kind of like this antagonistic force that is obviously going to be present within Spice and Wolf, the church, because she is obviously a pagan god, or worshipped as a pagan god, and in this verse it's clear if someone does worship a pagan god, they're going to be hunted down, potentially burned at the stake, so to speak. And if Holo was discovered by, let's say, someone that was a part of the church, she probably would be burnt as a demon, devil, etc. So you can kind of see where the story is setting up for events like that in the future as well, so for more dramatic events. And I like that. There is a lot of setup and establishment of the story, the characters, and what to expect going forward. It's honestly just such a perfect beginning to literature, honestly. I love it, and it's one of the reasons why the story has stuck with me for all these years, because of how well it is actually told to the audience. Now, as for the anime's sake, getting into how the first episode is presented, honestly, this is clearly going to be biased coming from me. I mean, if you've watched the video, you can see. But I think the first episode's great. I don't really have any problems with it. I really don't. I mean, maybe after I sit down and I think about this episode for a week or two, maybe I will. But at this point in time, I don't really have any problems. It covers all the fundamental, themes and messages that the story's supposed to cover. The dialogue is proper. I see really nothing wrong with it. The music captures the atmosphere that Spice and Wolf should capture. I love the opening song. I love the ending song. I don't know. I see literally nothing wrong. The only complaint I could see people actually having, and I don't think this is a complaint, is literally the beginning segment of the episode showcasing this mysterious character. And I could see why someone would complain about that, but I don't even really think that's a complaint. I think that's really nice. It's very symbolic, because once again, it plays into the message of a lot of time has passed, and, you know, old fans of Holo and this mysterious character will be the newcomers. I don't know. I think it perfectly just falls in line with what the story is trying to tell with its first episode. But I guess I'll leave it at that. I cannot believe I have finally watched the first episode of Spice and Wolf's Remake, man. It gets me emotional, man. It really does. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. We have quite the journey ahead of us. Be safe, stay healthy. Chibi out.